She told herself it was just a one-time fix, a harmless cover-up to survive one family brunch. One man, one lie. One smile long enough to fool her mother into silence and keep her sister from asking for the 100th time. "So, where's your ex now?" But the moment he took off his ring, the moment she saw what was underneath it, her hands trembled so hard she nearly dropped her coffee. Before we start, leave a comment with where you're watching from. And if you've ever done something crazy just to avoid judgment, we won't tell. Make sure you hit subscribe for more stories like this one. The air inside the bakery smelled like cinnamon and old heartbreak. Alyssa stood near the front counter, checking her phone every few seconds. She'd posted the ad late last night, somewhere between desperation and 2 glasses of boxed Merlot. She didn't expect anyone to answer. Not seriously. Not sincerely. Just someone to play a part. Just someone who wouldn't make things worse. Then he walked in. He wasn't tall, like she imagined. He wasn't particularly handsome, but there was something about the way he looked at her come steady, like he wasn't trying too hard to be anything except present. That unnerved her more than confidence ever could. "You're the one who posted the ad?" he asked, his voice low, polite, cautious. "I am," she said, quickly putting away her phone. "You don't look like someone who needs to lie." She almost smiled. "You don't look like someone who answers Craigslist ads from single moms needing fake exes." He shrugged. "Guess we're both full of surprises." They sat in the back booth by the window. She handed him the cash. He didn't count it, just slid it into the front pocket of his jacket and asked, "So, what do I need to know?" Alyssa handed him a 1-page document. The fake story, names, dates, how they met, when they broke up, nothing dramatic. Just enough backstory to survive. 2 hours with her mother, her sister, and a nephew who liked to Google people. Mid-conversation. "I don't want anything complicated," she said, tucking a strand of hair behind her ear. "Just someone believable." He nodded. "You got a name for me, Ty?" He paused. "That's my real name." Alyssa blinked. "Oh, we can change it." "No, it's fine." I like the irony. She couldn't tell if he was joking. She hoped he was. On the drive to her sister's house, she briefed him on the details, her family's tension, the silent rivalry between her and her sister, the way her mother always brought up her ex in the most casual, painful ways, and worst of all, the fact that her little boy, Mason, had started asking if his dad was ever coming back. So instead of letting them all swarm her again, she figured she'd bring a man, a fake ex. One they wouldn't ask about because it looked too real to question. Ty didn't say much during the ride, just listened. Occasionally nodded. Once, he asked if her son would be there. She said yes, but that he didn't have to interact with him much. Just stay long enough for the adults to see what they wanted to believe. She expected the chaos the moment they arrived. Her sister, Amber, opened the door with a raised eyebrow. "This him," she said loud enough for the neighbors to hear. "This is Ty," Alyssa answered. Forcing a smile, her mother peeked from behind the kitchen wall like a hawk. "So you're the infamous one," she said with a sharp smirk. Ty smiled back. In the flesh. To her surprise, he didn't just follow her script, he elevated it. He brought a bottle of wine, complimented Amber's new backflish, helped her mom carry the roast into the dining room. He was charming, but not rehearsed, present, but never pushy. Alyssa kept watching him the whole time, waiting for the moment it would all fall apart. But it did in single quotes T. Then Mason walked in. The boy stopped mid-step and stared. "Mom?" he asked, voice rising in curiosity. Alyssa bent down. "This is Ty, sweetie. He used to be my friend from a long time ago." Mason tilted his head. "Do I know him?" Ty knelt gently, getting to eye level. "I don't think we've met, but I know a good knock-knock joke, if that helps." Mason smiled. Alyssa exhaled. They made it through the salad, the soup, and most of the passive-aggressive comments without issue. But it was during dessert that the world tilted. Amber asked how long they'd been back in touch. Ty answered smoothly. "We ran into each other at a bookstore. We got to talking. I didn't expect anything, but it felt familiar." Her mother narrowed her eyes. "And why exactly did you break up again?" "I forget." Alyssa froze. "That wasn't part of the script." Ty looked at her for a moment, then said quietly, "Because I wasn't ready, but I regretted it." Even Amber blinked. Silence settled across the table like dust. Then, as if the universe knew the tension wasn't enough, Mason spilled his apple juice. Ty stood up quickly, pulling napkins from his pocket. He knelt again beside Mason, patting gently. "It's okay," he whispered, voice warm. But when Alyssa reached to help him, something else fell from his jacket. A ring. It clinked against the floor and spun like a question no one had asked. Alyssa picked it up. It wasn't just any ring. It was a plain silver band, and on the inside, it was engraved. She read it once, then twice. Her hands began to tremble. Ty didn't reach for it. "You okay?" he asked softly. Her voice barely came out. "Where did you get this?" He didn't answer immediately. The engraving inside read, "All my tomorrows CL." Alyssa's eyes flooded with memory. Not her own, but a story her friend once told her years ago. A woman she'd met at a community center where she volunteered briefly before Mason was born. That woman had cried in the hallway one night, said her fiancé had disappeared just weeks before their wedding. She'd given him that exact ring. She'd shown Alyssa a photo, and Alyssa remembered the man's face. She remembered because the woman, Cassie, had described him as kind, a little quiet, good with kids, the kind who leaves a note even when he's scared to say goodbye. And now, that same ring, in this man's coat. She stood up abruptly, the chair scraping. Ty stood too, calmly, hands up slightly. I can explain, but she was already walking, fast, to the kitchen. Her mother muttered something. Amber followed. Mason looked confused. Ty waited a beat, then followed her. She turned around before he could speak. You were engaged? She asked to Cassie Lorman. He looked down. Yes, her voice cracked. And you, just what? Took her ring and disappeared. I didn't take it. She gave it to me. That's not what she said. He nodded slowly. She didn't know why I left. Why did you? Ty exhaled. Because I found out I was dying. The words hit harder than any twist she'd rehearsed. I was diagnosed with a rare blood disorder. They said 6 months, maybe a year. I didn't want to drag her through hospital beds and goodbyes. So I left. I thought I was doing the noble thing. And now, I didn't die, he said simply. I got treatment. It worked. But by the time I came back, she had already moved. I tried looking her up. Nothing. Alyssa felt the ground sway under her. Why didn't you throw the ring away? Because it reminded me who I used to be, who I wanted to be. She sat down slowly. Why did you answer my ad? Ty hesitated. Because your name sounded familiar. Alyssa Green. Cassie used to talk about you. Said you were the only one who sat with her when she cried. The world snapped into sharper focus. I didn't know for sure until you opened the door, he said. And then, I didn't know how to leave. Mason entered the kitchen quietly. Is everything okay? He asked. Ty knelt. You want that knock-knock joke now? Mason nodded. Ty smiled, but Alyssa could see his hands tremble. Later that night, long after everyone had left, and the house was quiet, she found the ring on the counter beside a sticky note. It said only 4 words. I never stopped caring. She stood there staring at it for a long time, wondering what kind of person keeps a memory alive through pain, wondering if she could be that brave too. She didn't call him that night, or the next, but 3 days later, she found herself walking past the bookstore he mentioned. And there he was, sitting on the steps, reading, as if he knew she'd come, as if he hoped. She sat beside him without a word. He handed her a coffee. She took it. And for the first time in years, she let herself imagine something impossible. Tomorrow. They sat on the bookstore steps for almost an hour, said barely anything, just drank lukewarm coffee and watched strangers pass by with their bags and their burdens. It wasn't awkward. It wasn't full of romantic tension either. It just was, like two people who'd carried too many stories alone, finally finding silence that didn't punish them. After a while, Ty cleared his throat. How's Mason? He's curious, Alyssa said. Asked me this morning if I liked you. Ty smiled faintly. And what did you say? I said I didn't know you well enough to like you. He nodded slowly, not offended. But I also said I didn't not like you. Ty looked at her sideways. Progress. They didn't try to define anything that day. They didn't swap life stories or promise second chances. But when Alyssa stood up to leave, Ty didn't stay seated. He walked her to her car, opened the door, then handed her the ring, not as a question, not as a request, just returned. You don't have to carry that anymore, he said softly, but she didn't take it. Instead, she whispered, leave it in the glove box. And somehow, that was the beginning. The next few weeks unfolded not like fireworks, but like rain after drought, quiet, slow, essential. Ty started helping with little things. Replacing the broken door handle to her apartment, fixing Mason's wobbly bike tire, bringing coffee on Thursdays because she once muttered that those were the worst. He never assumed his place, never tried to sleep over or change anything in her routines. He stayed in the periphery, present but not pushy. Mason warmed up faster. One Saturday morning, Alyssa found them on the floor, surrounded by Legos and juice boxes, deep in a debate about whether turtles could beat ninjas in a fight. Mason, clearly winning, looked up and shouted, Mom, Ty thinks turtles can't do karate. And Alyssa just watched for a moment, watched her son smile so wide it crinkled his cheeks. Watched Ty laugh even when he lost. Watched the way both of them seemed to occupy a space she hadn't known was missing. That night, Mason crawled into her bed, as he sometimes did when he had too many thoughts. Is Ty gonna leave? He asked, voice muffled in the pillow. I don't know, baby, she said honestly. I hope not. He laughs with his eyes. Dad never did that. Alyssa didn't know what to say, but she kissed his forehead and held him tighter. Later, as the apartment dimmed and the city hummed outside her window, she opened the glove box and stared at the ring again. She still hadn't asked Ty why he'd kept it all these years. She wasn't sure she needed to. Some objects outlive their original meaning. Sometimes, they become something else. A few days later, her sister called. We're doing family brunch again. Alyssa sighed. Amber, you don't have to bring anyone, Amber said quickly. I just thought you should know. Mom asked about Ty. She would. She also asked if you seemed happier. Alyssa paused. What did you say? I said I didn't know, because you finally stopped telling me everything. That stung. But also, felt right. The next morning, she asked Ty if he wanted to come with her. To brunch, he said, pretending to shudder. With Amber and your mom. It's not an ambush. Last time someone said that to me, I ended up eating vegan turkey with my ex's aunt. She laughed. There's pie. Tempting. I want them to see something real, she said. Not because I need their approval, but because I want Mason to see that being seen matters. He looked at her for a long time, then nodded. Then I'm in. When they arrived, the mood was different this time. Amber didn't interrogate. Her mother didn't weaponize politeness. Mason darted straight to the backyard where the dog lived. And Ty just belonged. During dessert, Amber's son 7, and newly obsessed with secrets, blurted out, Uncle Ty, did you know you have the same scar as Mason's drawing? Everyone turned. Alyssa blinked. What scar? Ty reached for his left wrist instinctively. Then he sighed and pulled back the sleeve. There, faint but real, was a small crescent-shaped scar. The kind you get from climbing chain-link fences or slipping on rocks as a kid. The kind that leaves a mark you stop thinking about until someone points it out. Mason drew it last week, Amber's son explained. He said it's his favorite part because it proves people can get hurt and still smile. Ty didn't say anything. Alyssa didn't either. But something between them shifted. Again, not like thunder. More like earth. Later, as they were getting ready to leave, Mason tugged at Ty's hand. You can come with us, right? Back home. Ty crouched. If your mom says it's okay. Mason looked up at Alyssa, eyes wide, unfiltered. She nodded. Yeah, it's okay. That night, after Mason was asleep, they sat on the couch watching a movie neither of them cared about. Ty glanced at her. What changed your mind? She didn't look at him. Just said, the scar. He smiled faintly. We all have them. She turned to face him. Some people try to hide them. You let a kid draw one. Kids don't lie, he said. At least, not like adults do. And then, like the most casual, irreversible act in the world, she leaned into him, let her head rest on his shoulder. He didn't move, didn't speak. He just stayed still, and stayed with her. The next few months passed like seasons in reverse. The air got warmer, the tension lighter. She laughed more. He slept better. Mason started calling him, sometimes, Dad, which was both hilarious and heartbreaking. They didn't define anything with labels. But one afternoon, Ty found a sticky note on his backpack that read, Thanks for showing up. Every day. It was in Alyssa's handwriting. And somehow, that said more than any label ever could. Then came the day everything nearly fell apart. Ty got a letter in the mail. From the hospital, a checkup routine. But something in his face when he read it made Alyssa's stomach drop. I need to go back in, he said. For what? They want to run more tests. Because he didn't answer. For 2 days, he was quiet again, distant. She tried to respect it, but then Mason caught him standing alone in the hallway, clutching the ring again. You gonna marry my mom? Now? The boy asked, tilting his head. Ty smiled weakly. You think she'd want that? Duh, Mason said. You're the only person she doesn't pretend around. Ty blinked. Also, Mason continued. She gave you a drawer. What? In the dresser. That means you're not temporary. Ty didn't cry, but he bent down and hugged the boy tighter than he ever had. The hospital visit came and went. The results came back better than expected. Still healthy. Still here. When Alyssa opened the door that evening, he was already standing there. No jacket, just holding the ring again. I kept it because I was afraid to start over, he said. I asked you to keep it in the glove box, she replied. I took it out, he whispered, because I think I know what it's supposed to mean now. She didn't say anything. He took a breath. I love you. It wasn't dramatic, no background music, no rehearsed speech. Just simple, raw, terrified truth. I love your kid. I love your terrible coffee. I love the way you argue about paint colors like it's world politics. I love that you're scared, and that you let me see that. She stepped forward. And if I say I'm not ready to get married, I'll wait, he said. I'll wait as long as it takes. Just don't send me away. Her voice broke. I wasn't planning to. Mason peeked from the hallway again. Are you guys done talking yet? I want ice cream. They laughed. That night, Ty didn't go home, and he never needed to again. 2 weeks later, Alyssa invited her family over for dinner. It wasn't a test, it wasn't a performance, it was just a meal. Her table, her rules, and if they didn't like it, they were free to leave the way they came in judgment and silence. But she hoped this time would be different. Ty made lasagna. Mason made a mess. Alyssa lit the good candles, not because she wanted to impress anyone, but because she finally felt like the home deserved to be seen at its best. When her mother walked in, she stopped in the doorway. The place looked small but warm, smelled like garlic and good intentions. Amber arrived 5 minutes later with her husband and a box of brownies from the bakery Alyssa loved. No side eyes, no smug glances, just a quiet nod of approval. The table was full but not crowded. The room was loud but not hostile, somewhere between the salad and the main course. Amber asked how Mason was doing in school. He got a gold star last week, Alyssa said, smiling. For empathy and effort, his teacher said he's the only kid who makes sure no one eats alone at lunch. Her mother, surprisingly, smiled. He gets that from you. Alyssa almost dropped her fork. Ty noticed. He reached beneath the table and gently touched her knee. No one saw, but it grounded her all the same. After dessert, Mason disappeared into his room. When he came back, he was holding something, a drawing. Crayons, lined notebook paper. Folds down the middle. He placed it quietly in the center of the table. Everyone leaned in. It was a picture of a house. A real one this time. With stairs, a porch, and windows that actually had curtains. A woman stood in the doorway, one hand waving. A man stood beside her, holding a toolbox. A boy with untied shoes ran across the yard, arms wide. Above the roof, in crooked handwriting, it said, "This is home." Alyssa looked at her son. "You drew this." Mason nodded. "It's us." Ty cleared his throat softly. Amber's husband muttered, "That's pretty good." Alyssa's mother said nothing, but she reached forward, smoothed the crease in the drawing, and whispered, "It's beautiful." And just like that, the silence wasn't heavy anymore. It was permission. It was the beginning of acceptance. When the family left later that night, her mother lingered at the door. "I was hard on you," she said, "because I thought I was helping." Alyssa didn't reply, just waited. Her mother's voice softened. "But I was wrong. You didn't need fixing. You just needed to be seen." Then she hugged her. The last time they hugged, Alyssa had still been pregnant. Still hopeful. Still pretending she wasn't scared. This time, the hug was different. And, when her mother pulled back, she added, "Ty's a good man." Alyssa smiled. "I know." Inside, Ty was helping Mason clean up. Crayon lids scattered like confetti. Dishes still piled in the sink. But none of it felt overwhelming. None of it felt like work. It felt like life. Later that night, as Mason drifted off to sleep, Alyssa tucked the drawing into a frame she pulled from the hallway closet. It had once held a photo of her and her ex back when she thought love was supposed to look a certain way, sound a certain way, perform a certain way. Now, the frame held crayons, and truth, and a second chance that never asked to be earned. Ty stood behind her, arms crossed, watching. "Pretty good artist," he said. "He takes after his dad." Ty blinked. She turned. "I mean the one who shows up." He looked at her, eyes soft. "You sure?" "I'm not sure about anything," she whispered, "but I know when something feels real. And you feel real." He stepped closer. "You still want the ring in the glove box?" She shook her head. "No, I want it on the counter." He raised an eyebrow. "Where we keep the things we're not done figuring out yet." Ty smiled. "Fair enough." They stood there, side by side, quiet again. Same silence. Same safety. Outside. The city exhaled. Inside. Mason snored softly, and Alyssa, for the first time in years, didn't feel like she was surviving. She felt like she had arrived. No big speech. No wedding dress. No fairy tale. Just this. A man who healed quietly, a boy who believed fearlessly, and a woman who finally let herself be loved without having to perform for it. And when people later asked how they met, Alyssa never mentioned the Craigslist ad. She just smiled and said, "We were both pretending until we weren't." Because sometimes, the biggest truths begin as little lies. And sometimes, the love we never thought we deserved shows up anyway. Not to fix us, but to stand beside us long enough for us to see we were never broken to begin with.